Yerushalmi. Everything will be fine. Okay? We are on Daf Dalam base, but I want to start from the Mishnah again. And here, Dalam now. Kol shechati b'shmirosei. Echshati is nizko. Anytime I'm liable to watch something, if I prepare its nezek by not watching it properly, Echshati makes us nizko. If I prepare it partially, chafti b'tashlume nizko, I have to pay for the entire, for whatever damages. K'echshar kol nizko, as if I facilitate, is a better word than prepare, the entire nezek. The chazim shein be'em me'ilah is only property where there is no me'ilah, meaning not kochim. The chazim b'nei bris is only property of Jews, not goyim. Chazim yuchadim has to be property which is owned, as opposed to hefker. Chutz mirushusam yuchedes, it doesn't take effect in a property which is yuchedes l'mazik, which belongs to the mazik himself. Rishus hanizak v'amazik b'tashlumin, and the rishus of the nizak and the mazik is in payment. Now, you asked me yesterday, or Meir asked yesterday, if this is in the Bavli, this Mishnah. Did you ask me this?
Yeah.
It is, except for the last line. The last word, b'tashlumin, it's not in the Bavli. And in fact, the Bavli has an extended last line, which is not here. It says in the Bavli, this is a quote, Rishus hanizak v'hamazik, those are the three words we have here before the last word of the Mishnah. Then it goes on to say, kshehizik, when damage occurs, Chayiv hamazik l'shayim tashlumei nezek v'meitav oretz. The mazik has to pay from the best has to pay the damages from the best land which he has. So actually here we have the word tashlumin, which doesn't appear in the Bavli, but we don't have the whole statement in the Bavli, which makes it evident that you're liable to pay when a reshus is owned jointly by the nizak and the mazik. And this will cause Yerushalmi grief later on. Okay? The fact that there's a different version here than in the Bavli. Okay? Says Martan Rebbe Chia. Rebbe Chia said, Zeh hashor ve'habor. What is considered to be where do I have a chiyuv of shmira for the nezek? That's by shor and bor. Right? I have to watch my ox. I have to watch my pit. Va'esh lo tana. Eish is not included. Now, why is eish not included? Amar B'yim said ha'eish. It says lehechsher, but it's really like la hechsher, meaning low hechsher. Ha'eish. You're not chayav for hechsher nezakav. That's a very important point. If you have an ox in your backyard, you don't safeguard your backyard, boom, you're chayav. If you have a boar in Shemek Rishus Harabim, you don't safeguard it, you're chayav, right? Let's say lightning strikes in your backyard. You didn't ignite the fire, and then it spreads from out of your backyard. You're potter. In order to be chayav on fire, it has to be that you actually set the fire. The Bavli calls that isha mishum chitzav. Yerushalmi doesn't mention that. The Ridbaz really tries and induces it into the Yerushalmi, but I'm a little bit skeptical. But the idea is very important, and it leads into the next question. Rabbi Yisrael says in Kani, if that's the case, that ha'esh lo hechsher nezakav, again, la hechsher is like lo hechsher nezakav. If it's not a chiyuv on not watching, but rather the chiyuv is on igniting a fire, which then spreads. So then, mekabel of asroya b'dasu v'loika. If I go to somebody who's about to start a fire, and I tell him, don't start the fire, and he says, I'm starting the fire, I'm an askain, so I should be able to give him malchus as a result. Now, of course, the obvious question is, now Ariasha does ask it, although I don't see why he has to ask it. But the obvious question is, obviously, you don't get malchus, right? You pay, right? Ein lokim b'shalim. Anytime you can pay, there's no malchus. Yerushalmi knows that as well. Yerushalmi immediately addresses that issue, but he's just saying for a fact, right? He's saying that you should get malchus. So it says, what taka is the maskana? Why is there no malchus? Because of obviously ha'esh lehechsher nezakav. Again, since ha'esh is not based on hechsher nezakav, so therefore, if you set a fire and that fire went to damage another human being, you accept upon yourself, meaning you're liable for nezek, tzar, ripui, shevis, and moshes. You're liable for all those payments. If your ox goes and gores another human being, if a human being falls into your pit, you're not chayav for nezek, tzar, ripui, shevis, and moshes. You only pay nezek, not everything else. Not the anger, not the pain, not the doctor bills, not the unemployment, and not the degradation. It's only if you yourself punch somebody in the nose or did something like that. In this case, adam ba'adam. But since Aish is considered to be an extension of yourself, so that's why it's like Nizke Adam Ba'adam. In fact, the Rambam, it takes this Gemara so literally. Rashi and the Bavli says that even though by Eish you're chayev on everything, but not on Boshus. Boshus you're not chayev, right? Because then that goes to make sense according to Bavli, because Isha Mishum Chitov. Right? Isha Mishum Chitov means it's like you shot an arrow, but you didn't strike him personally, right? But the Yerushalmi is even more radical than that. The Yerushalmi says you're chayev on Boshus as well, and the Rambam Paskin is like this Yerushalmi over the Bavli. The Paskin says you are chayev on Boshus, and the Rabbit speaks about that at some great length here. But in any event, that's what the Yerushalmi holds, that Eish is unique and therefore different than Bor and different than Shor.
If you say Eish Shumamono,
yeah,
you're only chayev as
right. It's because Yishus Mishum Chitov that you're chayev everything else. Okay, because Yishus Mishum Mono would be just like an ox, right? Absolutely. Says Gemara, if I facilitate part of the nezek, I pay as if I made the entire nezek. Ze'abor. This is referring to a bor. The Tani we learned. If you dig a pit which is 10 tefachim deep, 9 tefachim deep, and then somebody else came and made it a 10th tefach deep. So he just dug a tefach. Achron chayev. The last guy is chayev. Why? Because he completed it. Okay? What? Not chayev misa. If the animal that falls in dies, then it's chayev. Yeah.
Significance of 10 tefachim that it's kedei lahamis?
Yeah, kedei lahamis of the animal, not kedei lahamis. It is too, that too, but that's not what I'm talking about here. You don't pay for killing a human being, you pay for killing an animal. So if an animal falls into a bore which is less than 10 tefachim deep, you're pot, and it dies, you're potter. But if it's 10 tefachim deep, and one guy dug 9 tefachim, the other guy dug the last tefach, the guy who dug the last tefach is chayev. Rabbi Omer says, achra lemisa. The logical dichotomy Rabbi makes, I don't know if Tanna Kamma disagrees or not. It seems like he does disagree. Rabbi says, if the animal which falls into the bore dies, then you go after the last guy, because he's the guy who made it 10 tefachim deep. And you go after the first guy in terms of nezek, because he made it 9 tefachim deep, which is certainly enough to damage an animal. Okay? Right?
Yeah, so the animal was dead, so he's not...
No. Because let's say the animal did not die but survived. So who has to pay? The first guy, he says, right? On Rabbi Yitzchak, he says, no. Kini mas nisa. This is the way to look at the Brisa. Don't misread the Brisa like we just did. Rather, achra lemisa. The last guy who made it 10 tefachim deep facilitates death. V'achashneim l'nezakin. Right? They both have to pay in terms of nezek, because they both were contributory. The Bavli is not so sure about that, but I think in the conclusion of the Bavli it also comes out to this conclusion.
But the animal would have been damaged regardless of whether it was 9 tefachim or 10 tefachim deep, so just made the first step.
No, yeah, he also contributed here. That's the aside here. He also has a chiur shmira. You're right. Once I dig deeper into the pit, I get a chiur shmira as well. I have to watch it. If I didn't watch it, I'm liable to pay. That's what it's. You're right. The other side in the Bavli is that the first guy made it deep enough. Why did the second guy have to pay? No, but here's no. There's no side of the Bavli. Sorry, the side of the Bavli is that only the last guy has to pay. It's either both or the last guy. It's not only the first guy. For sure, the last guy has a chiur shmira. The shayla is if the first guy loses his chiur shmira as a result or not. Okay. So it says chafar ba sora tefachim. Okay, the first guy dug 10 tefachim deep. So he brought it to the limit down. Another guy came, he came and he went down to the bore and he put on plaster on it, and he made all sorts of sculptures in it. So it's his name Chayavim, but the Ritbaz and Shai Teretz changed, and I think they're right, to Achron Chayav, the last guy is Chayav. The guy who plastered and sculpted it. So it's my nation, Sido V'chido, Chayav, what are you liable for? What kind of insanity is that? Right, what did he do? So the Gemara here says, now, the Yerushalmi is different than the Bavli, argues in the Bavli. Says Yerushalmi, a very fundamental Yisai, which the Bavli never heard of, which is, B'sha'omar lo, the owner, the guy who dug the bore said to the second guy, so, it says it's a bias, but the Mashbiach says, obviously there was a base there, and somebody interpreted it as bias, but really it's supposed to be so that's bor. Yeah, so does habor, right? Because it's talking about bor, not the bais, right? So does habor hazeh ukneoso. And by doing that, you'll acquire it. Okay? How do you acquire it? The chor, nobody owns it. It's a bor b'shus rabin, right? But nevertheless, the Mar Rabbi Yam V'Shem Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yam said, Rabbi Lezer, Shmiras Nezakin k'Shmiras Kinyan. Shmiras Nezakin is like Shmiras Kinyan. In other words, who has responsibility to watch this? That responsibility can be transferred by the vehicle of Kinyan. And just like you can make a Kinyan on Karka by sculpting or plastering, here the Kinyan of Shmiras Nezakin is transferred as well. It's amazing chiddush because you don't own it. Famous language in the Bavli. Shnei dvarim einam b'shuso shel adam v'ason hakasu kilan b'shuso. Two things are not yours. The Torah regards them as if they're yours. What's that? Bor b'shuso rabin and chametz on Pesach, right? Those two things are not yours. The Torah regards them as yours. But the Yerushalmi takes a step further and says you can even transfer the liability from yourself to somebody else. How by this type of agreement? Okay, so it says the Gemara. That's one answer. I mean, said another answer. We could say it's a case where you dug it. The first guy dug it in the sands. Since it was in the sands, so it was not stable. So the second guy came and stabilized the hole. By stabilizing the hole, he acquires the hole. Now that's similar to the Bavli. The Bavli, in terms of the Bavli is a famous machlokas. I don't know if it's in the Yerushalmi too, but the Bavli and the Daf Nun Aleph has a machlokas is a bor chai mishum havlo and mishum chavata. Now I never understood this machlokas. I don't understand exactly what we're talking, what it means. But the Pashup shot is that a bor chai because the animal gets bumped right when it falls into the bor, right? Chavata, it's knocked round. But there's a sheet in the Bavli which shows the bor is chai mishum havola, because you create a constricted space in which the air is bad. It's the bad air from which the animal dies or suffers, whatever. So the Yerushalmi there, the Bavli says, the only reason a sad or a kier guy can acquire the bor, the shmir of the bor, is if originally the bor was very wide and therefore there was no havola, and now he made it narrower and he ruined the air therein by making the air more oppressive. So that's the only way which the second guy makes it, because in essence, in that case, he made the nezek. That's somewhat similar to the second answer of the Yerushalmi, right? The shifting sands, and this guy stabilized it, but it's not at all like the first answer of the Yerushalmi, that there's a kinyan taking place, right? So you see from the Bavli, as I said, doesn't go as far as Yerushalmi. It rather only holds that there's a possibility that the second guy be chayiv if he enhanced the nezek aspect of the bor, but not that he can acquire the bor if he didn't enhance the nezek aspect thereof. Okay? Says the Gemara, the Tani we learned Chavar Zeh Asora. This is a proof that the first guy is chayav as well, where they both participated. They can be partners in being liable. Chavar Zeh Asora v'Zeh Asora. Each guy dug 10, or Zeh Asim, each guy dug 20. Shazem each guy dug 100. I guess they're digging for oil. Kulan chayav, they're all liable. Why? Because they all participated. Kamishur lamis, what's the shiur to kill? Asora tfachim. The 10 tfachim is the shiur to kill. Lahazik, what's the shiur to be mazik? Kosher. No matter how small. Now this actually, the Bavli doesn't have a discussion of how shallow a bore is in terms of nezer. The Marshal, which the Marapani brings down here at the very bottom, wants to say that the shear is at least 3 tfachim, because otherwise it's not a bore; it's level to the surface, right? But the Marapani says it's clear from the Yerushalmi, not like this, and the Rambam Basket is like the Yerushalmi. Rambam Basket said the shear is a kosher. Doesn't matter. A little outcropping, a little depression, that's already considered to be a bore vis-a-vis nizakin. Okay? Sumchus argues. Sumchus holds like the Marshal. Sumchus at the top of him now. Shloishal arko l'roch ba'arba. That's the 4 by 4, 4 length by 4 width by 3 deep. Otherwise, it's not considered to be a bore. That's minimum shear of a bore. 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim by 3 tefachim. Okay? Rabbi Eliezer Akfar Omer. Now, two interpretations of Rabbi Elazar Kfar. I like the Vilna Shas interpretation over the Pnei Moshe, but I'll tell you both. Elazar Kfar says, K'milul shel noifel. He says that a boar is the height of an animal, the falling animal. Uma milul shel noifel. What's the milul shel noifel? Now, first I'll tell you the Pnei Moshe. The Pnei Moshe says, Ma milul shel noifel, afilu tarnigo, afilu gamo. Even the height of a rooster is enough to make you liable if a camel falls in. Because it doesn't mean each animal based on its height, but rather it's the animals which are larger you're liable on even if they fall into a boar which corresponds to the height of a smaller animal. That's how the Pnei Moshe learns it. But the Regular Shas learns, I think, much more logically that each animal requires its own reckoning. Afil Tango, Afil Gamo means not that even if a Gamo falls into a pit the depth of a Tarnigo is high, but rather a Tarnigo requires its own size pit and a Gamo requires its own size pit. Right?
Does it actually have to be a pit? Can it just be a crack in the sidewalk? Something
only if you like Tanakama. According to Tanakama, yeah, but not according to...
all you need is something to make them stop.
Yeah, but not according to Rabbi Elazar Kfar. Rabbi Elazar Kfar would have to be significantly deep. Now, the Rambam, the Or Sameach asked on the Rambam, how can the Rambam paskin koshu, right? The Rambam like Rabbi Elazar Kfar. He says that there's a Bavli which says, Daf Tzadik Aleph in Bava Kamma, that Yesh Omid L'Nizakin. Sounds like we do have to make reckonings. It sounds like Elazar Kfar, that everything is relative. So why isn't the Rambam passing at the Bavli? So he says that he wants to tell you that which the Bavli holds Yesh Omid L'Nizakin is only according to Mandamar that bor is Mishum Havola. Because then you have to gauge the air to see how bad the air was, whether it was sufficiently bad to damage. But if it bor is Mishum Chavota, like the Rambam Paskins, then it can even be a kosher, because any crack in the sidewalk can make you fall. Okay, that's it. Okay, Piska. The Chassid Shem Ben Mila. By the way, do you find Bava Kamma hard so far? No. I shudder to think of how it could possibly get hard, but the Lieberman claims that Nizakin is harder than the rest of the Yerushalmi. But so far, I don't know. I don't see it. Okay, the Chassid Shem Ben Mila. The Chassid where there is no Mila. That's a night horror. Now we'll see what happens next. The Chassid Shem Ben Mila. The property where there is no Mila, there's no, only and then is there Nizakin, not if it's holy. So Tani. So we learned Hanechasim Halolu to take out the dollar. Shaitan Soul takes out the dollar. Hanechasim Halolu. Now I'm going to take out the next four words. The Shaitan Soul does it, and he saves a lot of ridbaz, which otherwise you have to get into. Hanechasim Halolu Kachimim Elishain B'Amila. Don't think that when our Mishnah says the Chashim Yesh Ben Me'ilah, it means only the Chasim Sheish Ben Me'ilah. Because by Kachim Kalan there's no Me'ilah. So you're going to pay Hekdesh for damage done to Kachim Kalan? Or is Hekdesh going to pay you because of damage done by animals in Kachim Kalan? Of course not. So it says the Chasim Sheish Ben Me'ilah, it doesn't mean, and therefore Kachim Kalan are included in the Zakin. Kachim Kalim are also not included in the parsha of Nizakin. Both ways. You don't pay hektish if you damaged Kachim Kalim. You might have to pay some other payment, but not the classic payment of Nizakin in the Torah. And vice versa. If Kachim Kalim damage your animal, so then they don't pay you. Okay, so that's how he learns it. Tani, Nechasim Halolu, Kachim Eim Elishaim Ben Mila. Kachim is the main factor. Not whether there's Me'ilah or not. Rabbi Yerushalmi Shmuel said, the Rabbi Yosef Glili. This is specifically because Rabbi Yosef Glili was saying this, because Rabbi Yosef Glili holds Bavus Tashit, the famous sheet of Rabbi Yosef Glili, goes Kachim Kalim, Mamam Bailim. It belongs to the owner, right? So I would say if Kachim Kalim, Mamam Bailim, that's why you can be Mekadesh and Isha with your portion in Kachim Kalim. So don't think that he holds that the Kachim Kalim are part of the Parsha Nizakin. They're not. Okay? So it says, the Tani look at Mola Mal Ba'Hashem. It's a halacha, which we're going to discuss now in some detail. I gave you an animal for safekeeping. Animal, it doesn't matter if it's an animal or anything else, but let's say an animal. I gave an animal for safekeeping. You come to me and you lie. You say, you take a shiur and you say, I never got the animal. Then you have to bring a korban shiur. That sin in the Torah is called the Mola Mal Ba'Hashem. Right? The Me'ilah is not to be confused with the regular Me'ilah. This Me'ilah is taking a shvuah, again, a false shvuah. Okay? This is confusing because Me'ilah we just use in the context of some behavior which abuses kachim in some way, shape, or form. But here Me'ilah means taking a false shvuah. So it says if you take a false shvuah, Ba'Hashem, so then you have to bring a korban shvuah. So Lohavi Kachim Kalim means that if you take a false shvuah on Kachim Kalim, I gave you my korban shlomim to safeguard for me, and then you lie about it. So then you have to bring in korban shvuah as well. Why? Because even though it's Kachim, but since it's Kachim Kalim, it's Mamam Bailim, it belongs to me, and therefore you have to take a shvuah. The way you take a shvuah in that, when you lie, you have to bring a korban. Now what kind of Kachim Kalim? Benazi Omer Lohavi es Shlomim. It's specifically about Shlomim. Now, what does Shlomim mean? So it says, it says not Shlomim, Bechor. What's the difference? Shlomim, you have to bring the Sachin with. Bechor has no Sachin. Bechor has no Sachin. No, sorry. Bechor. Bechor. No, just 1 second. But my being this case, what's interesting to Malamar B'Shlomim, he who says that Shlomim is considered to be Momam Bailim, Kosh Kain Meiser Behem is certainly Momam Bailim. Because Shlomim you have to bring the Sachin for. If I bring Shlomim, I have to bring wine and flour with it. If I bring, and oil. If I bring a Meiser Behema, right, that's every 10th animal, I don't have to bring that. So if Shlomim is Momam Bailim, even though there are all sorts of additional accoutrements of carbon attached to it, certainly Meiser is Momam Bailim, belonging to the man, belonging to the owner. However, Manda Mar Bechor, he says Bechor is Momam Bailim, Meiser Behema is not. Why? Because Bechor can be sold. The Kohen owns the Bechor, right? The Kohen owns the Bechor, and he can sell it, even while it's still a tam. He can sell it. Meiser Behema cannot be sold. So therefore, if you go Bechor is Momam Bailim, I might say Dafka Bechor because it can be bought and sold by the master. But Meiser Behema, which can be bought and sold, perhaps it's not considered to be a Momam Bailim. Okay? So it says, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Echo Kachim Kam. This is a bigger chumrah. I give you my chatos to watch. You lie about the chatos. You also bring korban shvuah. Chatos is for sure not mine, right? Chatas is kachim. How can there be a korban shvuah? Rabbi Shimon's famous shita throughout Shas. What's Rabbi Shimon's famous shita? Davar agarim l'mamon k'mamon dami. Anytime I go to anything which is, even if I don't own it, but if my chatas gets lost, what do I have to do? I have to replace it. So it causes me a loss. So even though it's not mine, the chatas, since its absence will cause me a loss, it's going to cause me monetary loss. It's like money, right? So therefore, if you lie about the chatas I gave you for safekeeping, even though it's not mine, unlike Kachim Kalim, according to Rabbi Yosef, nevertheless, you have to bring a korban shvuah because it would cause me a loss. Okay? If I have to replace it, if you lie to me, I say it's a lie against me, you cause me a loss, therefore you have to bring a korban shvuah. And however, korbanos which I don't have to replace if they're no longer around, Karni Bahem Ba'Hashem V'Kichesh. In that case, the take is not considered to be a shvuah of any significance, and the lie of the shvuah doesn't generate a korban shvuah. I mean, you'll burn in hell for having lied, but you don't have to bring a korban, because you have to lie to your friend in order for there to be a korban shvuah. Rav Huna said, and this is a very difficult line here. The Shai Torah itself changes the Girsa completely, but Lieberman brings down a Gemara in Shavuos which says exactly like the Gemara says here, a Gemara in the Yerushalmi Shavuos, and therefore I don't want to change the Girsa. I'm loath to change the Girsa. So I'm going to tell you a pilpul here, Okay, I don't like it, but it's I couldn't figure out any other pshat for saying. Rav Huna Amar, Echad Kachim Ksherim, Echad Kachim Psulim. Even if I gave an animal to watch, and it's an animal which is a Baal Mum. So anyway, I'm going to have to replace it. No matter what, I'm going to have to replace it no matter what. So the Kachim Shechai B'Achrayuson, these if it's Kachim Shechai B'Achrayuson, right? Chayav Achrayus, I have to replace it. Hafilu Hein Hashem, even though I'm going to have to replace it regardless, because it's a Baal Mum, right? It's not, you might lie to me, but I don't lose anything by that, because anyway I'm going to have to replace this car because it's a Baal Mum. But even Rabbi Shimon, I'm not going to have to replace it regardless.
No, but you can let it go out and graze and then you can sell it. So
Do I?
You let the Baal Mum, it could go out and graze and then you can sell it. So according to Rav Shimon, you're still living in a loss of money.
I didn't even think of that. Could be you're right. That would explain it very simply, because you could still davar very long. Because I was just saying it. I was going to say probably now sheker, but I'll tell it to you anyway because I thought of it, which is that the Baal Mum, even though the Baal Mum has to replace anyway, but since it's in the category of things which are going in Lumamod, so therefore it's considered to have an affinity to me, and therefore if you lie to me, then you have to be a carbon shvur. Your pshat is much better.
Well, basically what
But I'm saying even though I'm not taking into account that I'm actually going to perhaps save money on the deal, I'm just saying since it's in that category, that's enough to make you have to be a carbon shvur. But what you're saying is probably true. Okay. In any event, I feel according to when they're not going to place it, regardless of whether it's a Baal Mum or not, whether it's Kachim Ksher and Kachim Psulim. It's a lie which has to do with Hashem and not with your fellow man, and therefore there's no carbon shvur. Okay, Piska, right? All of a sudden, the end of Kedushin, they started using the word Piska. I don't know if there's a video with Bava Kamma with it. Piska, new passage. The Chazon Sheish of Bnei Bris. Prat l'shorish Yisrael shenogach shor shalakum. Jewish ox, gore Bris Milah. Jewish ox gores a non-Jewish ox. So then we're parted. Okay. Minachas michadim, and it precludes. It has to be owned. The Korban of Pnei Moshe gives a nice try. It says, let's say a hefker ox gored my ox and it damaged it, and then somebody acquires that hefker ox in a hefker. So the guy who acquires it doesn't have to pay me. It's not a lien which rides on the ox. It's a lien which rides on an owner who owned the ox at the time that the ox gored. So therefore, in that case, if the ox gored when it was ownerless, and then an owner took it over, he's not responsible for any prior damages. I don't know, no, because Chatzi Nezek at least is Mishalim Migutfa. Right? Chatzi Nezek is paid from the body of the ox, from the value of the ox itself. So I might say the value of the ox now has a lien riding on it. I guess that, at least that's what I think the Havmin is. Maybe it's not, maybe that's partial that we don't say it. But that's the
question would arise if the first two times that this was ownerless, and did goring, and then the third time.
No, that for sure. For sure, it can't become a muad because it says vuad b'valov. If there's no bailam, you can't make it a muad.
So that would be the same.
Okay, yeah, maybe it is no ham. I'm not sure what that means necessarily, but that's what I thought it was. Now we come to the part where the Bavli and Yerushalmi parted ways in the language of our Mishnah. Chutz mi'reshus ha'miyuchedes lamazik shu potter, except reshus which is miyuchad, which is designated for the mazik, it's his, so he's potter. The shores, if another ox comes in and is damaged, unfortunately, by the mazik's ox, that's the visitor's problem, right? Nogin heim b'reshus ha'nizak v'ha'mazik, but when it belongs to the mazik and the nizak together, then you got to pay, which is in direct collision from the Bavli, because the Bavli holds, right? Because there's different gears in our Mishnah that when it's in the Rishus Hanizak V'Mazik, then you're potter. Okay, Now, obviously, there are two opinions in the Bavli, but it seems that that's the primary opinion. That Rishus Hanizak v'Hamazik, not b'tashlumin, right, which means you have to pay, but Rishus Hanizak v'Hamazik is like Rishus HaMiyuchedes Hamazik, right? Because the way the Bavli learns it, without the word tashlumin at the end, so it's B'chutz Rishus HaMiyuchedes Hamazik, Rishus Hanizak v'Hamazik, both are potter. But the way the Yerushalmi has the word tashlumin at the end, so it's a separate clause, which means Rishus Hanizak v'Hamazik b'tashlumin, that there is payment. So a totally different approach based on the different views of the Mishnah. Okay, so here, so the Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah said, "Ilu tana chutz mishus hamiyuchedes lamazik v'shosak." Were to have said that there's no payment in the mazik's, the damagers yard, and then was silent. I would have known. We know that in the partner's yard, and if the chotzer belongs to neither of them, that you're chayav. So why does it have to tell us that there is payment Rishus Hanizak v'Hamazik? It's pashut, right? I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's pashut, but I could have learned that just by leaving out that last line. If you would have told me the only case where you're exempt from paying is Rishus HaMazik, by definition I would have known that Rishus HaMazik v'Hanizak, if it's a common domain, that there is payment. So why does the Mishnah have to tell us that there's payment? It's superfluous. We need to darshan this last line, because it's like excess verbiage in the Mishnah. Why does it have to tell us this? So says more Rabbi Yirmiyah says an amazing thing. It's talking about the four shomer. Now, this is amazing because there are three perushim in this, and there's no way of knowing which perush is correct. The Pnei Moshe says it's talking about where you accepted by yourself an ox for shmira, and in your backyard the shomer's ox gored the ox given to him for shmira. The Ritbaz says sorry about the exact opposite. That in those it's sorry about where the mafkid's ox, right, the guy who gave us safekeeping, gored the shomer's ox. And the Shara Teisel gives a third shot, that the mafkid gave the nifkad 2 oxen, and one gored the other. So according in all these cases, we have to say you're chayev. Who's chayev? If the shomer's ox, and according to Moshe, the shomer's ox gored the mafkid's ox, so then the shomer's chayev. According to Ritbaz, if the mafki, the guy who gave the ox for safekeeping his ox, gored the shomer's ox, then he's chayev, right? Mafki's chayev, yeah.
Why? But the mafki wasn't there. The shomer should have.
He shouldn't have given rabid oxen to to watch. Should have given some warning. Obviously, it must be talking about a case where some warning should have been given. According to Shai Teres Yisrael, the shomer's got to pay for not having watched that the 2 oxen of the mafkid are not going to gore each other. Okay, so you can take a choice, whichever shot you like better. So that can, yeah. You mean?
Well, I was just going to say the shomer should have to eat his own loss, because he should have watched out that the mafkid's ox would gore his own ox. So because he didn't, so the shomer should just have to eat it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what the Ritbaz's logic was. I don't remember what the Ritbaz's logic is. The Ritbaz says, he says, when the shomer accepted to watch the ox, to babysit this guy's ox, he only accepted to babysit vis-a-vis the rest of the world. But the assumption was that the mafkid accepts upon himself as also a certain degree of liability vis-a-vis the shomer's ox. That's the assumption implicit in the contract. That's what he wants to say. Okay? You don't have to like it. You can like one of the other 2 pshatim, but that's so. Name it. So that's a Rabbi Yirmiyah the extra line in the Mishnah that's talking about this case where there's a shomer involved. Rabbi Yisrael says a different shot in the extra line in the Mishnah. He argues. Rabbi Yisrael, okay, same thing, same deal. The extra line is superfluous, but he gives a different explanation of it. Became in the time it says since it says to exclude the reshus, which is unique to the mazik, and the idea that only in that case you're exempt from paying, where the damage occurred in the mazik's backyard, right? So if that's the case, would we not know that it pertains in the reshus of the nizak of the mazik? Obviously, we would know that. So why does it have to say that it applies to the reshus and nizak and the mazik? It's going to tell us that in a chatzir which belongs to neither of them, right? A chatzir which belongs to neither of them, you're potter. Okay? We're going to have a Tana later on who's going to say this. Don't ask me why. We're going to give Xeris because it's got to belong to somebody. It happens in an area which doesn't belong to either of them, then there's no liability. Okay? Now, says Gemara, now bear in mind, this is talking specifically about Shane and Regel, not about Karen. Rabbi Yirmiyah is about Karen, about goring and about Karen, maybe Shane and Regel too, I'm not sure, but he's talking about Shane and Regel. So Shane and Regel, in order to be chayev, has to be a yard which belongs to it could be a yard which belongs to both of them, or the yard of the nizak, but it can't be a chatzar which doesn't belong to either one of them. Okay, so it says more East tiny those who said a filu chatzar shein shneim. Some argue, some say even a chatzar which doesn't belong to either of them, you're liable. Manamar chatzar sheshut v'chayaves. He holds that if it's a chatzar which belongs to them, it's partnership. The mazik's liable. The chatzar she'eno shil shneim patura, chatzar which belongs to either of them, you're potter. Makes the most amazing drush in the world. The chsiv, you can rip out your hair on this one. The chsiv, top of meitav sodehu. Now, meitav sodehu is going on the payment. Means if I'm mazik you, I got to pay you the best of my fields, or the best of your fields. Is a whole question. Meitav of the mazik, meitav of the nizar. But we're dashing sodehu to mean the field in which the damage occurs has to belong to somebody. Whereas if I leave, let's say, my food pile, my haystack in a hefker area, and an ox comes and tramples it or eats it, even though it's shade of a regel, it's potter, right? Because it has to be meitav sadeh, who has to be, even though that's talking about the payment, we learn from there also the nezek, that the nezek must take place in somebody's yard. From the extra above. Sadeh shalom. So that which belongs to somebody. Believe me, I can't explain it because the drasha is from a pasuk which is not talking about the circumstance of damage, the circumstance of payment. It's a pliya. But which makes sense, right? To his drasha makes sense because it goes on the circumstance of damage. You see, so as long as your animal goes and grazes or walks in some other field, it doesn't say b'sadeh shelacher in somebody else's field, it says in another field. So in either case, even another field which doesn't belong to either one of them. So he talks the fact that it says here just stay acher, not sodehu or sodeh shel acher. Okay, mikom. Rabbi Yassi b'Shem Yom said chatzar shutrin chayavis. Rabbi Yassi says chatzar which belongs to partners, mazik is chayav, and Galina Ephraim throws in here, and it's probably right. Chatzar she'eino shneim p'tura. If it's a chatzar which doesn't belong to either one of them, it's exempt, like the first drasha. Rabbi Yosef said, Anna, I learned out this principle. I derived this from the tiny Rabbi Yosef. That Rabbi Yosef taught. Arba klolos. Rabbi Yosef taught that arba klolos. Rabbi Shimon Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Meir, and Nezikin. Shimon Elazar said 4 principles named Rabbi Meir in terms of Nezikin. What are they? Any place where the nizak and mazik have permission to be there. You go bundiki like a motel, the chatzar shufim, and a place where there's a partnership, v'chayetzibem, etc., etc. Ala shein bala regel, and shein and regel. Next word is obviously a mistake. It's chayev. Shein regel is chayev because they're both allowed to be there. So the mazik's got to watch himself, right? So al nagicha. What about on keren? Al nagicha goring, on nagifa pushing, on a shicha biting, Varvitan crouching, Valabita kicking, Vatchia and shoving. Those are all Keren, right? Those are all goring type things. Im Tam B'Shayin Chati Nezek. If it's Tam, it pays Chati Nezek. If it's Muad B'Shayin Nezek Sholim Min Aliyah. If it's Muad, if it's already done it 3 times, pay full value, Min Aliyah from, and above and beyond even the value of the damaging ox. The Tam only pays up to the value of the damaging ox. More even above and beyond that. Now the Gilin Ephraim points out, this is going to be important from the base. This is not like Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon holds that Meshuna Karen B'Chotzer and is not just Chatzi Nezer. So it's clear not like this, because here it says that even though it's a B'Chotzer Shutrin, you pay half damages. According to Rabbi Tarfon, it's B'Chotzer Shutrin, you should have to pay full damages. Okay? Also, however, the Nizak V'Lon Mazik, if it's a yard which belongs to the nizak and not to the mazik, chai b'kol, then you pay full damages, even for Karen. That is like Rabbi Tarfon, right? Because except obviously this also this price holds that chotzer shutfin is not like the chotzer nizak. Rabbi Tarfon holds both chotzer shutfin and the chotzer of the nizak, nezek sholim. The author of this price draws a distinction. He says in the chotzer shutfin, Karen, Tam, Chati Nezek. And in the field which fully belongs to the Nizak, Nezek Sholem. Right? V'la Mazik v'lo Nizak, Poter Min Hakol. If he belongs to the Mazik and not to the Nizak, right, then you're exempt from everything. Right? Obviously. Right? Because it's what's the Nizak's ox doing in there. V'hakomodim, and everybody agrees, and here the Gilul Ephraim says, both Rabbanan and Rabbi Tarfon agree. V'she'ein reshus lo lezeh v'lo lezeh, that it's not a domain which belongs to neither one of them. Kikon bika, such as a planted valley, reshus a rabim, a public thoroughfare, a chayetzibah, etc., where neither of them should be. Al shein v'al potter. On shein v'regel, you're potter. Okay, so here, chotzer she'ein shel shneim, according to this, it depends. If it belongs to neither one of them, but both of them are allowed to be there, such as a motel, then you're chayiv. But it belongs to neither one of them, and they're not allowed to be there, because you can't leave your oxen roaming around free in Rishus Harabim, or in somebody else's planted fields, right? So in that case, which is a bika, al shein v'regel potter. On shein v'regel, you're potter, right? There's a kosov. There's a kosov we had before. Has to be make up, so there has to be a field which is owned by somebody. Okay? And a gichav, and a gifav, and a shichav, rabita, and chia, and all those cases we had before. Tam Mishayim Chati Nezek, or Mu'ah Mishayim Nezek Sholim Min Aliyah. The Tam is Mishayim Chati Nezek, and the Mu'ah is Mishayim Nezek Sholim, above and beyond even the value of the ox. Okay? Okay? So again, this argues in the Bavli. The Bavli holds the Reshus HaMazik VaNizak, your potter, right? So here the Yerushalmi holds the Reshus HaMazik VaNizak, you are chayav. Okay? Says more further. Halacha Gimel. Shum Kesef. You evaluate the money of the damage, but you have to evaluate the money of the damage, basically whatever it was. The more is going to explain what that means. Shava Kesef. Also Shava Kesef. Now, I don't understand this, but Shava Kesef, the Yerushalmi says means only real estate and not, you only pay reimbursement with real estate and not with metaltlin, which is for sure not the sheet of the Bavli. I don't know how they get that from the word Shava Kesef, but somehow Shava Kesef means, according to the Yerushalmi, real estate. Don't ask me how. Yeah, okay? Bifnei Basin, in any event, in front of witness, court, and based on witnesses. B'nei Chorin, the witnesses have to be, the witnesses have to be B'nei Chorin, free men, B'nei Bris, and they have to be Jews. V'anoshim, women of course can be witnesses, but B'klal Nezak V'anizak, but they can damage and be damaged and, reimbursed accordingly. V'amazik B'tashlu, I'm sorry, B'klal Nezak, comma. V'anizak Mazik Tashlumim, and in a case of Karen, both the damagee and the damager lose, as in the payment, as the Gemara will explain. Okay? Now, what's the first thing? Shum Kesef. Eino mean takes a part of a talis. It's a cool case. The name Moshe brings it down. I don't think it's in the Bavli. seems like Tosefta. What happened was like this: my ox scored your talus, ruined the talus. Then that talus somehow, by some poetic justice, some midah connected midah, got wrapped around my ox's leg in Rosh Hashanah, and my ox broke its leg. So we don't say any takes it part of a talus. We don't say poetic justice has occurred, and therefore no payment should take place. Rather, we reckon what was more damaged, how was more damaged. Was the talus more damaged? Was the ox more damaged? And we make payments accordingly. So don't say it cancels each other out. Okay? Shava Kasef. Now again, I don't understand this, but here it says it. When Basin collect, they collect only from real estate. If however the Nizar grabs metaltalin to reimburse himself, then Shamin Lomihan, we exclaim keep them, and we deduct from the principal which is owed to him. But again, that's only if you grab. Basin does not authorize the collection of metaltalin, right? Now in the Bavli it says Shavaket. I think the Bavli says Shavaket of Larabas is a subin. That even if you have soap sauce, I forget exactly what subin is. No, subin is coarse grain, bran. Even bran can be used. But here it says real estate. I don't know what to do with this.
Maybe have Zionistic spin because it's Eretz Yisrael, so
No.
Palel, the only one land.
Yeah.
It just says that Kesef makes the column. Therefore, Shabbat Kesef could only.
Yeah, but I don't know where he gets that from. I don't know. I have that underlined in my Pnei Moshe too, but I don't understand it. Anyway, Bifnei Beis says place for a base of Lamish and Shamin Law Bifnei Beis. The reckonings of how much to pay take place at Bad Basin. Also has to be within this. Bnei Chorin and Bnei Bris, Yatsu Akum, Muvavadim, Psuleid, as opposed to Goyim and slaves, and others who Psulim Leidus. V'noshim B'chal Nezek. Women are included in damagees and damagers. Fishlot up as a cause of as Alish. Since the Pasuk only mentions men, that's why the Mishnah has to tell us Sarach Rabbis and Sisha has to include women as well. And where you see it in the Psukim himself, Tani Rabbi Shmuel said, Ve'ela Mishpatim Asher Tasim Lifneihem. These are the judgments you should put in front of them. Who are them? Men and women. I think it goes on to say they're men and women. Isha, I think it says there. Okay. V'anizak v'amazi b'tashlumin. What does it mean? They both participate, both the damagee and damager participate in the payment. Mishamim Chatzi Nezek. This is when Chatzi Nezek is paid, right? Because Chatzi Nezek, everybody loses, right? So, we can't, but from here we see Shem Chatzi Nezek. We can't just say Mafsi Chatzi Nezek, we say Mafsi Chatzi Nezek. Here we see they split it up. Chamisha Tam and Chamisha Muadim. The 5 cases in which an animal can be tam and then becomes a muad. What are they? If an animal does not start off being muad, l'likach, not to gore, l'ligof, not to push, l'lishoch, not to bite, l'livot, not to crouch, l'livot, nor to kick. But we had one more Omid, which is to shove, right? Pushing with the head and shoving with the body. I assume that shoving here is included in ligof. Okay? Hashem, but tooth, eating, anything which an animal can customarily eat, even if it's occasionally. We have like a chazer which ate basar, which it doesn't usually happen, but anything which an animal can eat, that shane, it's always more. Haregel also, it's always more to break as it's walking. Hashora muad v'shora mazik v'shusa nizak v'adam. Also, a shore which is muad is of course muad. Right? A shore mazi b'shusa nizak, the shore of the mazi b'shusa nizak, even vis-a-vis Karen, is nezek sholim. And our mission is going, as Amar will say, like who? Like Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon who says that Karen, the chatzar nizak, mishalim nezek sholim, means that's considered to be a muad in the chatzar nizak, right? Rabbi Tarfon omer nezek sholim. Rabbi Tarfon said, I'm sorry, skipping the Gemara. V'adam, and man. A man is always muad. Adam, right? The person who is more. Rabbi Eliezer said to Rabbi Tarfon here, which is Rabbi Tarfon. Because here it says well, you pay full damages. even an ox, which is a tam, that's Rabbi Tarfon. A tam and Nezek Sholem, Chachom in Chatzi Nezek. Chachom say a tam, even in a Chatzi Nezek, only pays Chatzi Nezek. So Rambam says a tam and Chatzi Nezek pays Nezek Sholem. It's clearly going to Rabbi Tarfon. Okay, Hazev, a wolf, Bari, a lion, a dove, a bear, a nomer, a tiger, a bardeless. I forgot what a bardeless is. An anteater? Anyway, whatever it is. V'anachash, a snake, harei l'muadim. They're muad, right? They're always muad. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, b'zman she'bnei tarbus ein muadim. Rabbi Eliezer says if they're domesticated, they're not muad. We don't pass them like him, so you can't domesticate them. But even Rabbi Eliezer could see v'anachash muad lo'olah. V'anachash is always muad. Can't domesticate it. Ma ben tam l'muad. What is the difference between a tam and wood where it is applicable? Tam pays or half damages and only up to its own value. Now, if you have a scrawny ox which gored a majestic cow, so then you only pay up to the value of the scrawny ox, even if it's much less than chatzi nezek. V'amur m'shay nezek shalom aliyah amur pays nezek shalom, the full value of the damages, and even above and beyond the value of the damaging ox. Tayar me'omer afa tzavua. I think a tzavua is hyena. The tzavua is also considered to be more from the get-go. Rabbi Yosef said, Lom Rabbeinu b'tzavua zachar. So I talk about male hyenas. Sheyei shosh ukoshakari. Sometimes male hyenas are tough like lions. And the Marapani brings down that that's the same distinction between male and female hyenas is made in the Bavli. Okay, I didn't prepare anymore. It's unprecedentedly early for the shiur though to end. Maybe we should start the next parak. I don't know how far we'll get. Okay. Kate said a rego. June 22nd, by the way, is the official end date. June 22nd. The number is a leopard, right? Yeah, that's true. Okay. They didn't have tigers in the Middle East, I guess. Keita rego muedes l'shaber derech hilucha. How does a rego break while it's walking? Abei muedes l'halach kedarko l'shaber. The animal is, more to walk and break, right? Choisam mivaitas, what if it's kicking? Or pebbles were spurting out from underneath its feet. The shibras kalim, and it broke kalim via the pebbles. Shayin chatzi nezek. Chatzi nezek, tzoros is obviously a very famous story we're about to learn. That's the chatzi, the pebbles which come out from under the feet are chatzi nezek. Even though it should be regular, right? Badly, I don't know what the Yerushalmi says. The Bible says that tzoros says, of course, it's regular, but it's a cause of that it's chatzi nezek nevertheless. Sorry, right.
It's like a problem, because it's not directly, it's indirectly.
That may be the reason for that but it's certainly not Kevin. That's the point. Okay, dorsal kli, if the animal stepped out of a vessel, the shavartim broke it. And then it fell another kli, shavaro, right? The first one broke, the first keli broke the second keli. Arisha Mishayim Nezek Shoyim, the first keli is Nezek Shoyim, because that's actually classic regal. But then the pot shards, which were spewed out and broke the second keli, that's tzoros, and then on that Mishayim Chatzi Nezek. Okay? So it says Gemara, Vein Dakolati tzoros. I understand why it's tzoros any different than regular regal. That's the derech is to make tzoros. So we'll have to wait to see the answer.